The Share Pickers Weekend Podcast with Justin, Paddy, Peter and Steve. The content of this podcast is not intended as investment advice. It is for information purposes only. People in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy anything based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.
Welcome to the Weekend Podcast. I'm joined by Break-Even Stephen. Just us, Steve. Just me and you.
Yeah, I know.
Just the two of us. Can
That
make
means
it if we try.
I'm not sure if I can leave my my microphone on mute for most of the podcast this week.
Yeah, exactly. You have to pull a bit of weight, Steve. Even your kettle's on the ball in the background. Thing is, right? First of all, I've been away this week. I've been looking after parents. I'll talk about that in a bit. But Pete said he's unavailable. Paddy's in Iceland, and then he quickly followed up by not the supermarket. So, there is internet in Iceland, you can do, half an hour call from Iceland. It's not a big deal. I don't know what he's doing there.
It's very expensive, Iceland, so maybe the internet's, very expensive, yeah.
That's ironic, isn't it? When Iceland, the supermarket's quite cheap. You can get party. They come into their own, don't they? In the summer season, in the Christmas season, you can get party things there. You can get like 17,000 sausages and blankets for like a quid or something. Do you have one near you?
I think it closed down the one near me.
Yeah, the thing is,
what's the other one? It's the farm foods. That's the one that's close to me. It's their competitor, isn't it?
Yeah, but do you know what I was just saying? If you look at the supermarkets, people think, "Oh, get in the supermarkets." If you look at the competition there now, where does Iceland fit in? Because Aldi and Lidl, they're squeezing even Tesco. Tesco's still the massive leader. It's got like 28% of the market share, which is massive. And next one down is Asda, and that's got like 10%. So still massive. But where does Iceland fit in? Because they're only in town centres, aren't they? Or something?
Well, they're predominantly frozen foods, aren't they? So that's their kind of selling compared to Aldi and Lidl, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
but if you're old, see. And you don't like cold areas. People are cold very... I can imagine being turned off by that as an old person, saying, I'm not going to Iceland, it's too cold in there. But anyway, Paddy can't make it, he's in the real Iceland. And then Pete said he can't make it because he's in Cardiff. I think, hang on a sec, they've definitely got internet in Cardiff. I've lived there. Steve does a weekly podcast from there. Yeah. And did you meet up with him last night or tonight?
No, yeah, I was supposed to be meeting up last night, but we're doing tonight now. So I was going to say, because you were in Cardiff, I'm not sure why you just didn't stay for another night, and we could have all met up.
Yeah, I know, I just fancied getting... No, you could have done that, yeah, but, Pete didn't invite me, did he?
Well, you were kind of invited, as long as your COVID was gone.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? No, the reason why I've been with the parents, my mother has got dementia there. She's suffering, sort of memory loss, and it's getting worse. And my father tested positive COVID. I went up there because my brother's abroad on holidays. He lives local to them, but he's abroad on holidays. So I went up there, and what's life all about, eh? I think as you get older, right? I don't want to start on a downer, but as you get older, it doesn't get any easier. Does it? And I think one of the things that helps is if you haven't got any money, it gets even worse. But I just, I was with him. We tried to test my mother for coronavirus. But first of all, every time we tell her about coronavirus, she says, "What's that?" So in the end, I started off by saying, well, it's a pandemic, it's gone around the world, it's killed 3 million people, there's vaccines, fastest vaccine program. And then I realised 2 minutes later, I'm saying the same thing again. So in the end, I just said, you got the flu. And but we tried to test her with these lateral flow tests. And she said, go on, I'll be tested. I said, you don't, though. So I put this swab in her mouth, and she shuts her mouth and closes her mouth on it. Open your mouth! And she's like, I said, I can't get to the back of your throat unless you open your mouth. I was going, oh, for heaven's sake. And then we try it an hour later. She does the same thing again. Bloody hell. And he said, hey, Pat, what's the point knowing she's positive or not? We can't do anything about it anyway, But it's unbelievable. But, go on.
I presume they're both double jabbed, do they?
Yeah, both double jabbed. Yeah, well, I said to my mother, it's funny. So I went up there. She was lying in bed, right? And I was putting stuff away. And she was just talking to herself. She goes, oh, I don't feel the best. Oh, I don't feel very good. And I said, you're all right, Fange? I call her Fange because she used to be a fast driver. And Fangio was like an old Italian racing car driver. She said, what? I said, you okay? You're not answering any of my questions. I said, what did you do? I said, I've been downstairs. No, you haven't. I said, yes, I said, what's your question? She said, piss off. I said, that's not a question, it's a statement. And she said, well, take it out as you will. She didn't answer any of my questions. But you realise my father's got it hard there, and he's looking after all the time. And even things like, making food. Mum, do you want a pizza? What's a pizza? So you realise, how do I describe a pizza? Okay, so it's a round bit of bread, tomato, cheese. No, I don't fancy that. But do you know what I've installed though, Steve? I came close to you in the week. I went down to there's stock levels, and this is part of supply chain problems, I think, the economy. Because I've seen so many articles of late since supply chains are depleted, HGV drivers. That's where you want to be, Steve. If you're on part-time work, get your HGV. Have you seen this one guy on BBC? He got from 17 quid to like 25 quid overnight, an hour.
Yeah, there was a guy who said he was going to quit his job. He said even if they paid me 80 grand a year, he didn't want to do it. That's how bad it was getting. I was like, that's quite. They're saying some HGV drivers are getting paid now more than some lawyers or solicitors.
Yeah. When you realise how crucial it is to get at last mile, just 10 miles to delivery, and because right now lots of supermarkets are saying there's going to be a problem for Christmas. There really is with food, and so but.
I think so, though. Like, I presume this has been brought on by Brexit. Yes, this is not COVID, is it?
Well, they say it's both, don't they? They say basically they've got people. There's people off work. They've been testing positive and all that stuff. So they're off work. There's also Brexit. People gone home. So Eastern European drivers and all that stuff have gone back to and also because of COVID, they've gone back home. Because the economy shut down, and so it's everything. It is a bit of Brexit stuff, yeah, but
because if it is a COVID, sorry, not a, if it's a Brexit thing, the government can do something about that. They can start employing people from abroad because they can still bring in people who they want to bring in. So if we've got a shortage of HGV drivers, I'm sure there's people in certain countries that will come here and work, and we'll have them in. So it's only a short term fix, isn't it? So I guess.
Yeah, I think exactly they can do that. You just say, come on, listen, have you got eyes, hands, and legs? Okay, have you driven anything like a transit or bigger? Coming across, that'd be good. Just come on over, because I see people. So I was looking for Ring. These. So we got one in our house. I love it, and you got your own tech setup there, haven't you, with a camera outside your house? But I decided to set up. So my mother goes wandering when she's feeling better. She just goes off wandering, just walking around and trying to find her house. And even though she lives in her house. So now I get notified. Whenever she leave the house. I've also got one of those tiny little ones, but I couldn't get them anywhere. I had to go to Cardiff Bay, which is like 20 minutes away from Blackwood, and then the next day I had to get the smaller one for indoors. I'm not sure of those things. They're like spy cams, aren't they? But I put that in the conservatory now, and so I can hear my mother and father's conversation. Pretty much the same. I look at the clips and it's the same conversation. Last night they were going to bed, right? My mother said, "I'm not feeling very well, Chris. You got coronavirus." I said, Dad, if I said, Dad, do not go down that route. Just say it's flu. She said, what's that? Literally the last conversation, that was my coronavirus. But do you know what? I do believe these big companies are spying on us, do you? Because they're constantly on, even these smart speakers. I mean, I genuinely will talk about something in the living room and I'll see something advertised on the internet that I've been talking about, that I've not searched for or anything. I do think they're always on. I think AI is. I think it's very scary at the moment, and they are.
Well, no, they are literally always on because, as you know, all the speakers I've got in my house are Sonos, and in the newer generations of Sonos, they've got either Alexa or Google built into them, so they've got microphones built into them. And when I got mine for my bedroom, there's a little light that comes on when the microphone's on, which obviously is quite annoying when you're going to bed. There's like little LED light lighting up the room, and. So I was looking at ways of switching the LED off, and apparently Sonos have wired the LED directly into the microphone, so you cannot physically turn on the microphone without having the LED on. So they can't. So if you're basically you want to mute the microphone, I think it's the same in the actual Alexa ones as well. So there's no way of overriding, and it's the same on the Apple actually with the cameras. The little lights in the iPhones. Yeah. So when that little light comes on, apparently. The mic physically can't be turned on without that light coming on, so if anyone's spying on you unintentionally.
Do you know what I said? Because when you went to buy this little one in the house, it comes with it £8 an additional add-on for a little cover that goes over it. Yeah, a little switch. I thought, well, what? Just unplug it. But people don't, do they? I suppose that shows you how invasive it is. And in fact, my father, he's got Google Home there, and he was playing some tunes on there with mother and father in the conservatory, and he went, "Hey Google, play Tom Jones," and he said, now playing Tom Jones on video on Monty's bedroom. So how connected are these things? I can see this being someone being up for murder soon, and literally them bringing evidence via their smart speaker, and then it not being admissible in court because you're snooping. Because I think they can do that now. We are being wired up.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I've watched documentaries on it, and they've done tests and stuff, and they've shown that actually, when you talk about something and you start getting Google adverts about it, and you're like, it's obviously listening, but apparently it's not doing it, and they can't use it in court at the moment, can they? Because they're
WhatsApp just
effectively breaking the order.
Yeah, do you see WhatsApp just being fined? WhatsApp, I don't trust Facebook at all, and they own WhatsApp and Instagram, don't they? So you will find adverts on Facebook. There's a lot of crossover, and I think you have to accept. There was some updated terms recently, but WhatsApp just got fined because they're supposed to be encrypted and all that stuff. But there is a passing of information between Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. So you'll notice if you surface something, or we talk about something on WhatsApp, you see an Instagram picture on it, advert for it, on Instagram, which is nuts.
I think we're going for that time at the moment. It's a bit like with the phone hacking years ago, where it was never acceptable, obviously, but it was classed as acceptable for the news to tap your phone or the celebrities' phones. And I think we're going for that point at the moment where these tech companies are going, yeah, we can get away with that.
Yeah, but no.
And just like WhatsApp this week, they've got a 300-something million pound fine. And that's the point they'll go, yeah, we're not going to do that again.
Exactly. No, we're at that level where, like I said, that famous quote now said, if you don't pay for a product, you are the product. And that's Facebook. Your data is the product. And many people realise, a while back, until this scandal came around with the hacking and all that, and all the political shenanigans, American elections and all this, and that Cambridge Analytics company involved. But they were using, people's profiles in a political way. And people before that didn't really care. Said, I don't care. They can look at, I don't care if they see what I've had for dinner, lunch, or what my dog's doing. I don't care. But you realise it goes deeper than that because your interactions and all that stuff. But you realise data is the new commodity, the new hot commodity, because you know everything about someone. And I got a lot of people whinging on Twitter about the NHS COVID app, track and trace. So then, what are you talking about? You're on Twitter. They know everything about you. They know exactly what you're liking, what you're sharing, what touches your buttons, what gets you fired up. They know everything about you. And we are at that level, you're right, where people are now starting to realise that their data is quite private to them, and it shouldn't be hawked around every sort of social media site for the benefit of a corporation, for profits. And in fact, bringing back to sort of investing, that thing on Dragon's Den, very good idea, but I don't know how. In fact, last night I was watching a boxing match on YouTube, and they had this, the banner ads they have pop up on the screen right in front of you. You have to click away. It had there, remove all adverts, ad blocker. There's an advert for an ad blocker. I thought, what? That's odd. And I remember seeing on Dragon's Den, that guy came on, and he had an app and a thing there, a website where it blocked all your ads, and you could do two things: either just block the data, or you could earn from that. I don't know how much you'd earn, not a lot probably, but I see it going that way really, slowly. I mean, I still work. I don't know what the point of it really is, because I still have Gmail, but I still use Firefox now. I just think it's a lot more trustworthy than Chrome, but sometimes it doesn't work on certain things, and you have to use Chrome, so it's hard. It's a seep of data. It's everywhere. But we are at that era where people are starting to realise that their data is theirs. And it's not Facebook's, even though I don't trust Mark Zuckerberg, do you? If you look at him, he is like an alien. I would not be surprised if they, like in the Men in Black, they opened him up to a little alien inside his head, driving him.
The one tech company I do trust, though, and this might be me being, I don't know, a bit too over-trusting. Gfinity? Yeah, all of those.
Plurn,
But Apple, I generally believe that they, because all they want to do, because their products are expensive, their money's not in advertising, their money is just in their products. Because I was in Mark Zuckerberg trying to sue Apple at the moment, or him and Google, because they now, by default, in their new ISOs in iPhones and MacBooks, it turns off all those privacy settings. So you've got to physically go in and turn them on to say that you want to share your data with them, which obviously most people won't do it, because originally it was done by default the other way around. Which I don't know.
But do you see? If you I don't understand this, but you have to do it. But Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, he just sold a chunk of shares that he's earned, 750 million. And I'm thinking, why is he selling?
He's leaving, isn't he?
Is he leaving?
Yeah. The reports that he said he's going to do one more big launch and one more big new product, which will probably be the
iPhone 13 with a new camera.
No. Yeah, well, that's coming out next month or this month. I think he wants to launch. There's speculation it's going to be Apple glasses. You know, the virtual, not virtual reality. What's the other one? Augmented reality.
Yeah.
And apparently he's going to resign then and move on. Let the next person take over. So that's probably why he's selling.
Thing is, what's the next thing you could do with phones now? They've done it all, haven't they?
Foldable.
Yeah, but that's it, foldable. But then the big leap, wasn't it, was from when you had Nokias and it went to the smartphone. That was like the biggest leap ever in tech, and you couldn't get any better than that. And now every update, doesn't matter how smart and snazzy and polished the presentations are, and they always are. Apple do amazing, presentations. It basically comes down to two things, doesn't it? Battery's a bit better, chip's a bit better, and the camera's better. That's all the add-ons. Literally, most people are never going to use them, But
look at me. Like, I used to get the new iPhone every year, every 2 years, and I'm currently still on the iPhone 10, which is 4 years old now.
Yeah.
And it's it still works.
I got the new one, but like I say, I haven't noticed a lot of difference. I mean, the battery's a bit better, and the camera's a bit better. That's all I know. And it's bigger, because that's my choice. So do you know what? I tweeted yesterday. I haven't done a lot of tweeting. I've done a lot of stuff because I've been cleaning the house and all that stuff, going to Asda, shopping. And do you use the self-scan, Steve? So much easier, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I know. I don't see why people. I look at people now still doing the other stuff. What are you doing that for? Why do you have to go through and unpack your trolley and pack it back? And then I just think, excellent. Just type in your phone number again, data. But I mean, you shop. Gone.
Are you using the ones in store, or do you use your phone to do it?
I didn't know you could do that, Steve. That's one step up. No, I used the scanner, which worried me a bit because I covered my hand in gel before I touched them.
See, I used, because obviously the scanners are easier to use. You can put them in the little trolley slot, can't you? Yeah. But I think it may be just my Asda, but the scanners kept crashing on the till. So you get then it's crashed. You have to go and scan all your shopping. You're like, are you kidding me? And that happened to me like 3 times in a row. And the woman was like, because I said, I can't believe that's happened like 3 times now. She was like, just use the app. You said these things are rubbish. They keep breaking down. I said, all right, fair enough.
Really?
So you can just use your app, your phone. That's a little bit more awkward to carry around, but actually it is better, and it very rarely crashes. In fact, it hasn't crashed on me at all.
The other reason I like self-scanning is you always get it, buy one get one free.
Yeah, it puts the opposite, doesn't it?
No, if you forget to scan something, So,
right. Yeah, I think I got a free potato once, because obviously you've got to wait.
Free potato? What I'd say is, don't forget to scan, high-value items. That's not good. Because if you've got a bottle of liquor in there, they'll always do a check on that, a quality check. What they're saying about that, a quality check, is they checked to see if you're a kleptomaniac. So, excuse me, sir, we're just doing a quality check. What quality are you checking? My ethics? Is that what you're checking?
Do you know what, though? I'm interested to see that, because if they scan you and you've got some free razors in there or a bottle of gin or something, do they then accuse you of shoplifting, or do they just scan it and go, you forgot that?
Yeah, they just say, have you forgotten to scan this, sir? Oh, yes, do you know what? I forgot to scan that last week as well.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. A shoplifter could do that every single time. Yeah. At what point do they mark you down and go, hang on a minute, you're doing this regularly, so actually you are shoplifting? Or
but I think though, what they look at, right, is they say the amount of people saved on the tills, right? I mean, you got one person there, haven't you? Now, I saw yesterday in Asda in Blackwood, there's the scan and go, and there's a self-service tills, and there's one person in charge of all of them. So you got 20 odd tills there, 30 tills nearly, whereas before you'd have 30 people on them, or whatever. So the money you save on that, they're saying we expect the odd, five finger discount. That's priced in. We're saving money on the staff. So do you know what? Anyway, one of a quote I put out yesterday, which has got a fair few likes, said, and it's about diversification, right? It said if one of your investments 10 bags, and it doesn't transform your portfolio extremely positively, you're over-diversified. You've got too many stocks, basically. If one of your investments goes bust and it transforms your portfolio extremely negatively, you're under-diversified. And you think about that. Those two can't sit together. They can. It's having the right amount of stocks, And how many stocks you got now, Steve?
I can't remember offhand, but I'm pretty much down to our 5
the high
stocks.
Five, the big 5.
I think I've got, I've got United Oil and Gas as well, which I kind of wish I sold that when it had its little peak a couple of months ago. But
is it going anywhere?
At one point it was 20% up and it's now minus 30% down. So I wish I kind of sold that. Yeah, that was Pete's fault. That was because Pete was saying, "Oh, it's going to go higher." So I held on to it, and I should have just sold on that little peak and put it somewhere else. But
yeah, that's Pete's resource fund corner, as he calls it. But I don't see a lot of fun being had there. I don't see any fun in let's say UOG. You just the chart. Any fun in losing money? I hate losing money. That's why when I go, used to go with the boys in November to horse racing. I used to hate it. There we are, pop and drop. We're up to 6 pence. Now it's back down to 3.3.
Thing is, though, it hasn't gone down for any bad news or reason. It's just slowly trickled down over this market crash at the moment. So it probably will come back. And when it does this time, as soon as I get into profits or as soon as it breaks even, I'll probably put in a
break even, Stephen.
I'll probably put in a stop loss and then try and make a bit of profit on it because I've held that for quite a while now. So I'd like to make some money on that. And I'll get out with that. Yeah,
do you know what people are failing to see about oil and gas, though, right? Even if the company is oil and gas, I'm sure they've got revenue coming in. But you have to understand market sentiment, and global trends. And oil and gas is frowned upon, and not just I know there's lots of oil and gas investors on AIM will be shouting at me now, saying, "Yeah, no, there's not. Oil is needed. It's in demand." No, I'm not talking about physically in demand. I'm talking about the divestment of billions and billions of pounds out of the oil and gas industry by the major investment houses like BlackRock and all these. They're the biggest institutions with the most assets under management, talking trillions of dollars here. They are moving money out of oil and gas. And so what does that mean, essentially? It means if you've got a company now, say even an oil company making profits, the multiple that those profits, would be valued on. For example, let's say a company, oil and gas company, is making £1 million profit a year, for example. Previous, before this big movement towards, environmental issues and ESG investing, which environmental social governance, before that, you could say that would be valued on 10 times, that profits, a PE of 10, for example. So the company worth 10 million, probably more than that, 15 million maybe. Now, it's not afforded that multiple, because it's a long-term downtrend. Its sentiment is negative towards oil and gas, more oil than gas. So, these companies not been afforded the valuation they would have had, 10 years ago. So it's just what's called an outflow of investment. And so you may see oil, the price of oil go bananas in the next few years. And I fully expect that to happen because there's no investment going into exploration because it's really frowned upon, In fact, it's one of the funny things I watched when Sean Locke died was when he talked about recycling environments. He said, "Do you care about the environment?" So I care. I do my little thing. Some people don't. He said, they just if they could, they'd take EasyJet to the shops, wouldn't they? They wouldn't care. And he said, and I used to do my thing, recycling the bottles, clean out all my stuff and putting them in the right boxes and the right bins and all that stuff. And then I went to America and I thought, what's the effing point? Yeah. He said, America, they are literally drilling in the Arctic and mopping up oil with seals. Literally, they don't care. And there's me in my little kitchen cleaning out my Marmite jar, thinking, right, let's get the Marmite out there. So what's the point? And but you realise it is going that way, isn't it? More people become environmentally conscious.
It's interesting though, because is it the drill up in Scotland where there's the big argument at the moment about giving them the licence to bring the oil out of the ground?
Yeah,
is that up in Scotland? Yeah. And to be fair, I was kind of like, yeah, just don't give them a licence. I'm sure, as most people who actually do care about climate change would say. But Boris did have a good point when he said, he's like, if we don't give it to them, if we don't give them the licence to bring the oil out, we're only going to have to import oil from other countries because we can still need oil for the next 20, 30 years. So we'll only have to buy it from somewhere else and it'll cost us more money, which he's got a valid point, to be fair. It's just like...
Yeah, not exactly. But peak oil, if you look at peak oil, they're saying there's some projections that suggest global oil demand could peak soon after 2025. That's not far off, Now, we're looking at pretty much, companies developing in the Far East, high population countries. They still need oil, and we still need oil. Until we transition to an alternative, it's going to take a long time. But you realise that's not that far off. When you see peak oil is only 2025, that's a few. If you're looking at valuing companies, generally you try and get as much foresight as possible over the next few years. That's risk and reward. You factor that in. And if you look at most valuations on companies, they'll try to look at least 2 years out. And most companies should be valid in 2 years out, pretty much, or 3 years out. So we're there, 2025, peak oil, that's there. And so, but the thing is, like I said, if the supply drops, because like you say, there are people now frowning on any exploration. If that drops, that supply, and they can't bring that demand on, because there's still a lot of oil being sold, of course, millions of barrels a day. But then obviously the price will just shoot through the sky. And you may see a lot of oil companies like I don't know when it's going to happen. But you may see a lot of companies like oil and gas just peak on the back of that oil price sentiment. But then what the Saudis will do then, all OPEC will do is start pumping more oil, because they've obviously got oil reserves. So they just start pumping more oil. So it's in fact it's a good thing.
But surely punishing the people bringing the oil out of the ground isn't what they should be doing. They should be able to bring up as much oil as they want. It's the people they need to be punishing, and not punishing, but people who are actually using it. So they need to be changing, as I said, moving to electric cars, a very small proportion of what actually needs to be done, obviously. But if there's no demand for it, why would they bring it up out of the ground? If we need it, bring it out of the ground.
Yeah. And also, right, when you think about it, 2030, right, most governments in the world are banning the sale of petrol, diesel cars. So I don't know what how much that makes up the overall demand, but surely that's a big chunk.
I don't think it is, though. Do you know?
How much? Well, surely that it will slow it down, though, won't it?
It'll slow it down, yeah, but I don't think it's a big chunk of it.
How many people drive cars? Lots. Yeah. I'm not sure the figures, but I'm sure it's a lot. Anyway, come back to diversification. I'll talk about that anyway. So I was saying it's very important, because there's never a real hard and fast rule about diversification. I know some people who just think you've got to have 20 stocks, just be safe. But if you have 20 stocks, you're not going to, as a private investor, you're not going to make a lot of money at all. Because, even just get a basic spreadsheet, knock it up, and like I've done, and realise if you have 20 stocks, and one company sort of doubles, which is not easy in this day and age, the market's hard as it is, but if one company doubles and everything else stays the same, your portfolio is going up by 5%. I want more reward than that, and I'm prepared to take more risk. Even if you come with 10 bags, your entire portfolio, 10 bags hard. How many 10 bags have you had, Steve, since you've been investing?
None. I think I've got to about 4 or 5, but not to 10.
Exactly. So 10 bags is the holy grail, right? Now, if you get a 10 bagger within your portfolio and you've got 20 stocks, your entire portfolio value, assuming no others go down and everything else stays the same, only goes up by 50%. If you get a 10 bagger, I want more than 50% gain. I want to be, it's been setting me up a little bit, That's why I've gone down to sort of like, 5 stocks pretty much, high conviction 5. And if you look at what Buffett said, what's the point having... In fact, someone said on Twitter, I put this thing out, and someone said, I've got 16 stocks now, and I'm trying to get down. And someone did reply saying, how good is your 16th investment? So people just pile on new stocks, and you realise you can't have 16 or 20 well-researched companies. It's hard to research 4 or 5 in depth. So you can't look, basically you are diluting. Every time you add something, you're diluting the potential to earn good money, because you're probably adding companies that are below average. And your portfolio is only the best. It's only the average of all your stocks, isn't it? Your portfolio value is on the average. So if you add some dogs to your portfolio because you think it's being ramped on Twitter, it'll bring your performance down. So you've got to have. I was going to ask you, right? When you're investing, do you have any kind of goal, any financial goal of where you want to be? Money, for example, how long are you going to work for? When you retire, how much do you want when you retire? Do you have any goal whatsoever?
Not an amount. I got my my portfolio split into 2. So I've got my Vanguard, which is kind of my savings account, which is. I'm kind of looking at it more of my pension, which I'm going to top up in more as I make more money from my other like fund stocks, let's call them. But yeah, no, I don't know. Like I'd obviously like to buy a bigger house and be mortgage free, but then there's another part of me going, do I need a bigger house, or should I just enjoy life more and just I don't know. It's a trick. I haven't really got an answer to it. To be honest, it's kind of like as it depending on how much money I make over the next 10 to 20 years, I'll kind of just make the decision as I'm going. I've not really got any set plans now.
It's a funny thing, that, isn't it? What we want and what we need and what actually we're happy with. Because, as you get older, dreams change. And in fact, spending time with my parents, you think, oh. And I saw a neighbour of my parents who's called a girl I used to go with, right? She's the same age as me. I saw her walking a dog on her own, and I thought, I was going to Asda thinking, when we were younger, did we think that life would turn out like this? You know, so it's really, as you get older, your little circle gets smaller and smaller. And I'm thinking, now is the time to enjoy it. I think, what do you really need in life? You know, what do you really want to do?
Do you know what though? It's because, and I think I've said this. Look, as you know, I'm living in the same house I bought when I pretty much left home. So I've been here in this. It's quite a small house, 2-bedroom, and it's probably like a first house kind of thing. I never intended to stay here for 17 years. And I keep saying, over the years, I'm like, I need to get a big house because all my other friends have been buying bigger family homes, and I was like, I kind of need to do the same. And it's only recently I'm kind of like, do I need a bigger house? Like, what? What's it going to do other than the fact that I'm going to have to clean more? Whereas I could use that money to just enjoy life and just do, So, don't get me wrong, I probably will buy a bigger house, but do I need to? It's not like top priority for me. It's one of those things that if there's excess money there where I can buy a bigger house and it's not the end of all, like using all my money for that, I wouldn't do that, So, I think.
Well, no, the most important, I saw a quote oddly on Facebook when I was posting something there, just from the timeline, it pops up now and again. And I posted a quote about years back. And it was a famous quote saying, the best things in life aren't things, and they are memories. Even if your memory will go when you're older, it's best to create memories. And I was driving back and listening to the radio, and I was thinking, they talked about Charlie Wood, I think it was. I thinking, what a life that guy had, the ex-Rolling Stone, and died, And thinking, you've only got sort of one life. And I thought, people like Ozzy Osbourne, he's a bit knackered now. Is he still alive, Ozzy Osbourne? Yeah. But I think he has so many memories packed into his life. And you could and you get this almost memory envy, people that have really lived life. Like, a bit like Mick Jagger or the Beatles. They've lived 10 lifetimes, haven't they, compared to most people, And most people, I say most people, a lot of people go to work, 9 to 5, whatever, not enjoying their job. Think, do you know what? I know it's a bad thing to say, but you shouldn't get trapped in that. You should not get trapped in that because, it's an old cliche, one life, got to do it, got to do what you want to do. But I was thinking this, right? As far as houses are concerned, I think it's a good thing. If you've got excess cash and you're making get money and you want to buy a big house, it's an asset, say a house, that's a good thing. Things that are flash cars and all that, rubbish. Don't ever go for that. I never go for a flash car because you're losing money on that. So an asset, 5%, at least 5. This year, 13% is, and the average has gone up by house prices. 13%. You imagine a return of 13% over 17 years every year, Steve. That's a cracking return. So
it is, but I got friends who basically have got their dream house or the house they kind of want to stay in.
They can't afford to leave it,
and they can't. And they can't afford to leave it. They're in jobs they don't enjoy.
Yeah.
And I hate my job. And I'm like, well, and I always say this to everyone. I was like, well, if you don't like your job, leave. Go and do something that's less paid, but you enjoy it because you'll regret it later on in life. And they're like, I can't because I've got this house now, haven't I? And I'm like, well, why did you buy the house then if you couldn't afford it? It's a.
Do you know what, Steve? You just made me think of a balance sheet, right? But not a balance sheet of assets and liabilities, a balance sheet of happiness. So you actually put on the asset side, what have you got going for yourself in life? What do you enjoy? What do you hate? And add it up. Like you said, your friends there, okay, you got your dream house, but you hate your job. You are, and I've always said this, there's 3 parts to your life, 3/3 you can break your life down into. 1/3 is sleeping. Everyone enjoys a sleep. So take that out of the way. We all enjoy that. So your living life, your conscious life is work and play or free time. Everyone enjoys free time. If you don't enjoy work, you do not enjoy half your conscious life.
Yeah.
That is a big... So you realise you're fighting the odds there. To have a happy life, if you hate your job, you're getting up... And I used to have this with so many... I had 25 different jobs by the time I was 25. A lot of them were sort of travelling jobs, travelling around. But I kept hating the jobs I was in. And I had that Sunday night blues. And that's why I think investing is that, people start investing early. Did I tell you what I did last week with my kid? I don't know if you listened to the podcast. I set up a free trade app, and... I let them pick, it's on the podcast there, I let them pick 5 stocks each, because you can trade American stocks for free. And it's a pretty good way to get your friends into investing. So I've only given them £100 each, Monty and Fred, and they can pick 5 stocks each. And of course, all the brands they know are American-based, so they picked Google, Netflix, Alphabet, Amazon, all this stuff, Nike. But it's quite funny, Fred's reasons. I showed him Fred the app last night. I said, Fred, look, out of the 10 stocks, your Netflix is now doing the best. It was Apple and Amazon, so Netflix is the best. It's got £21.09 already, so he's doing £1.09 off that one. And there is Apple and Amazon. I think Monty has Amazon, Fred has Apple. And then down the bottom, he also got the 2 worst performers, and they are Nike and McDonald's. He said, McDonald's? We had a McDonald's today. I said, yeah, Fred, it's a bit bigger corporation than that, but if you buy a Big Mac, it's not.
He shifts the share price. Look at
I know.
Big Mac meal.
But it's good to have that kind of, and that's why I think investing can help you with that. You're building your own wealth. When you're working for someone else, you are building their wealth, You're not building your own, and that's why being self-employed is good. You are building your own wealth. But, to actually make money work for you, to get wealthy, you invest in companies that are growing and will grow for years and years. And basically, that's passive income. But the answer, I was saying, let's say you want to retire, right? And you've got no mortgage, you've paid off your mortgage, and you want to retire. What do you need? What do you actually need? And so I was thinking, if you say, and in fact, most people's biggest bill is their mortgage, isn't it? So if you take that out of the way, how much do you need to survive? So even if you say you want 50 grand a year, and you can still invest, you can still earn passive income from investing, 50 grand a year, you can pretty much get 5% off any tracker fund easy over the long term, easy 5%, so that's very conservative. So basically you need times 50 grand if you want that by 20. So you need £1 million invested in a tracker fund earning 5%, but you probably get more than that anyway. But I think that's the kind of levels, because people never set down goals, how much do you need? But if you actually take it off, let's be honest, do you need 50 grand a year if you've got no mortgage? You probably don't, do you?
You could go on a couple of nice holidays, and things if it's in a nicer as well, you'd be tax free. So you think of all the money you would, if you were earning 50 grand a year, that would be going to national insurance, tax. Take all that away, not take it away. You get all that as well. You think, well, actually, you probably don't even need 50 grand. Reduce that down to 30 or 40.
Yeah. And the thing is, and if you set goals like that, you can work backwards and say, okay, how much do I need to earn off my portfolio between now and retirement? Is it like 10% a year to get that £1 million, for example, portfolio? And then earn 5% off it. You can work it back, and you can just do basic maths. And so I need to be returning say 10-20% a year, which is that compounded over like 10-20 years is a lot of money. Do you know one of the things? And I was watching. I don't know if you saw. I'm doing a video tomorrow on Saturday now. Tomorrow Sunday. It's the 5th of September. The 5th of October. Steve, does that date ring any bells to you?
Some sort of lung scanning company?
Yes, it's the FDA. Have you noticed in America, they've got a lot of three-letter words, and the FBI, the NBA, the CIA, the FBI, FDA. Why do they specialise in three-letter words?
They just don't want to say the full words, do they?
But they're saying, no, if you come up with an agency, guys, it's got to be 3 letters. It's got to be 3 letters. Easy to remember. FDA, FBI, CIA, the NBA. NFC, NFT.
A quick question about Valerian, actually. So, obviously, we're all leading up to this FDA approval. What about this? That's just America, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the benchmark, you see. Okay. So that is the gold standard.
Have they got any other awaiting approvals from what? So what's the UK one? It's the
yeah, well, it's exactly. That's what the Americans are. Simplicity is genius. We know the FDA in America. In the UK, it's called the American the Medical Council Board. It's about 5 letters. No, we don't need 5 letters.
That's why they do. That's why they do the letters and keep it to 3.
Exactly. What's the UK medical board? What are they called? I don't know what it is, but it's it's not General Medical Council. But but essentially, if it gets passed in the FDA, everywhere else, the European Medical Council, America, the Europeans and all that stuff will say, well, it's passed there. They'll do their own independent checks on it, but they are launching in America as well. So that's why they're going for America. They're going for the biggest 100 institutions, the academic, the excellence, the academic sort of excellence already researched. There's 23, 24 research polarizers out there already, and they'll leverage that straight away. And like Richard said, the CEO, those companies who are researching already will probably get a commercial version of that. So they'll double up, and other institutions will follow. But they're rolling out in America first, then they go around the world, so Europe and Far East and Middle East. But I'm doing a video this weekend because it's 1 month till FDA approval. There's a couple of people on the ship because the investment club said, is it going to be delayed? And I said, we don't know if it's going to be delayed because the FDA, they have thousands of applications every day, pretty much. They've given this date, and we're a month out. The date hasn't slipped yet, so it's looking good. But I assume, it gets busier the closer you get. But I'm not worried about any delays. If it's just down to the FDA being busy. 'Cause let's be honest, we're in a pandemic. There's been a lot of applications for loads of things. But I was looking at it, and this is a special company, it really is. I was re-researching it. And if people are not getting this, then hopefully I'm going to only a short video. Some of my videos can be too long, but I'm going to do a sub 10-minute video on 5 reasons you should research this company. And first of all, this technology is unique, and the market is massive. And just to look at the technology itself, it's non-invasive, radiation-free. It's unique in its ability to visualize all 3 vital aspects of lung function. That's ventilation, gas exchange, so that's through barrier tissue between the lung and the bloodstream, and then the blood flow. No existing lung imaging technology can provide quantitative analysis on all 3 factors. That is phenomenal, because it's not a case of accepting the tech that's out there at the moment. If you get better tech that can analyse and diagnose issues with lungs, and lungs, as we know now, are hugely important. Without your lungs, you're dead. COVID's put paid to that. If your lungs not working, you rest your body, because that's where oxygen comes in, and it oxygenates all your blood. Now, if you can't get that oxygen in, you're in a bed. You're bedridden. You can't do anything. And apart from being a horrible quality of life, that is huge financial burden to the system. People have been in bed. So I don't know if you saw this. So it's already, and beyond that, I mean, just in America alone, 150 billion they spend annually on diagnosing lung problems. And as yet they can't do it properly because they haven't got the tech. Now you add that long COVID on top, and some are saying the long COVID issue is probably as big a problem as asthma. Asthma's huge. So adding that on top. Now Professor Gleason. Professor Gleason, Professor of Radiology at the University of Oxford, so one of the best universities in the world, and he's a consultant radiologist at Oxford University Hospitals, NHS Foundation Trust. He said, after using Polarian's tech, and this is going to be in the video, he said many COVID-19 patients are still experiencing breathlessness several months after being discharged from hospital, despite their CT scans indicating that their lungs are functioning normally. Our follow-up scans using hyperpolarized xenon MRI have found that abnormalities not normally visible on regular scans are indeed present, and that these abnormalities are preventing oxygen getting into the bloodstream as it should be in all parts of the lungs. Now, that is phenomenal.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you showed pictures of it. They cannot diagnose. It's a problem as big as asthma. And at the moment, the current technology cannot diagnose it. And yet we got a company here on AIM, Polarian Technology, a month away from FDA approval, and yet they can. That's a huge market. And like I said, this company is going to be multiples where it is. And their broker note, the previous broker note, was very conservative. I didn't realise why it was conservative. And I realised, I read through it, there's lots of pages, and I realised they're only predicting 2% penetration of the American market. What? 2%? And Richard Hullihan, the CEO of Polarian, who was very conservative, said, I can see polarizers being in every hospital around the world within a decade. Now, they won't all be Polarians, but if they get the FDA approval and Hatch-Waxman, which they've applied for, that's exclusivity to 5 to 7 years. So the majority of them will. And if they're around the world, we're talking here a FTSE 100 company on valuation terms. And I think it's almost too good to be true. Thinking, wow. And I've looked at this over and over again, and they can't just say, oh, yeah, okay, it's better technology, but we're not going to buy it. Because they won't do that. Because if you have the best clinicians in the world, they can't work on second-rate equipment. They've got to have the best, to diagnose it.
So they've got exclusivity for 7 years, is that right?
Yeah, 5 to 7 years, depends on what they get. But yes, they've got exclusivity.
So who approves that? Is that the FDA?
The FDA, yeah, because they've the money they invested in it, of course, and all that stuff. They give them exclusivity, and also that they are the best at it. So you can't just have anyone come into the market and just try to copy them.
Yeah.
So.
So what do you think it'll do on say they get approval on F? Because with the market, what it's doing at the moment, I can't see it like going gangbusters. I know it's going to be one of those annoying days where it just doesn't. It'll probably end up down at the end of the day. But I guess the
that's,
true...
you know what's funny though? Everyone's expecting it to rise, and I did say on the webinar. I said it's odd. The market never reacts how you expected. That's why I like the market. It's like it's a wild beast of a thing, and it's driven by sentiment. Now people are almost. Because they don't see the share price go up, it's like, there's something wrong here. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. I know there's down. And someone said to me, I said, someone gives the exact question to me on a Discord chat group in the club there. So I expected it to rise by now. I said, listen, I think it will rise close to the date, but I'm not concerned if it doesn't. I'm only concerned about it passing FDA. If it does pass the FDA, and there's a high probability it will, because the only issue really on a safety point of view is the gas element. But xenon gas it has been passed by the FDA before and other things, so it's not a worry to them. The safety profile they're quite comfortable with. So if they get FDA approval, there's a high probability of that. This is going to be an amazing business. And that's where you look at, is the business going to be improving? Yeah, I don't see any other business like this. If you look at the growth projections on just 2% penetration, we're talking like, with it, in 2025, they've gone from almost no revenue to 45 million in revenue in a couple of years, and literally they're doing 160 million in revenue, and that's just on 2% of the American market by 2030. So from nothing to 160 million within 8 years, and that's just in one market, a small area of one market. You could easily times that by 10. So yeah, no, the thing is, it's funny how we're driven by the share price movements, isn't it? I mean, it's just sentiment, that is, and it's not based on the business whatsoever. People just base their assumptions on the movement of the share price. Well, not everything's new. You get people, it's odd. There's the founder, one of the founders who helped. It was spun out from GE, of course, one of the biggest MRI scanners, and Bastian, one of the founders, and this other guy, John, before it was listed, invested it, spun it out. And he notified recently, and it looked like he'd gone down, his sold shares, but he hadn't. I looked at his mission document. This John Suddle is his name, he's an investor, hasn't sold any shares. But because obviously he's been diluted, more shares have been issued, his percentage holding in the company's gone down. So he's gone down from like 7% initially, because there's a lot less shares then, to now below 3%. But people say, why is he selling? He's a founder. Obviously, he hasn't worked there since 2013, but he still holds every share. And then people started worrying. So, well, if he's selling, he knows something. No, he doesn't know. He doesn't even work there. It's like it's all good. It's fine. And I said even now. I mean, they said there's some research. They expect further research installations to happen this year on their results. But I just think I was explaining to my father this. I was showing pictures on my thing, and he said, "Wow, it's amazing, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. It's one of these cutting edge technology companies that come around very rarely, and especially on AIM." That generally has an answer globally to one of the biggest problems we have at the moment. And, but odd. Yeah, I don't understand why it's not rallying at the moment, but I don't care.
Well, I think it's just generally the market. Nothing, even stuff like, was it Escape Hunt who had that really good bit of news about a month or so ago, and it ended up down at the end of the day. You just think, that's what's his chops selling, isn't it, though? Yeah, what's his chops? Yeah, Stewie. But you know what? Just talking. I've got to touch on Escape Hunt, of course. If you look, they've got their interim results out at the end of this month, right? And of course, they've been shut for most. Well, and they are up until the 30th of June. The results. So they've been shut for most of that time. But what they'll be doing, and if you look at the last time they released interims, they released about 4 operational updates beforehand. That was the end of September, from the 18th of September until so the interims were released on the 29th, I think, last year, and so the interims will be the back end of this month. But I believe they will release. Looking at previous releases, because they've been busy, and I think they'll do a lot of updates before the interims, so then they can talk about them in post-period outlook as well. So I'm expecting news from Escape Hunt this month. Positive operation news, and we sort of know they're trading. There's a pre-trading update a while back, but we know how they've done it for 6 months. But they've been shut for most of the time anyway. But it doesn't matter. But I think they've been so busy since, and I expect more such to come online very soon. But yeah, I'm expecting good things from that. And Pellerin, don't worry about it. Again, it's like, do you know what that quote actually? I've updated it about Warren Buffett. He did say, if you bought a house for like 100 grand, for example, and it was some market price at the time, and then the house prices have a bit of a wobble, and someone comes to you a month after you bought it and says, "I'll give you 50 grand for your house," you wouldn't sell it, would you? It's because the house is fine. It's, make money over time. Same with the business. I updated this. Let's say you started a business, you spend 100 grand on the business, it's going very well, and all of a sudden you have a bit of a recession, but your business is doing fine. It's fine. It's ticking along nicely. It's getting better. And then someone says to you, into the middle of the recession, say, I'll offer you 50 grand for your business, even though you've invested 100 grand in it. It's doing quite well. You wouldn't sell it. It's the same with listed companies. These companies, the 5 I hold, are improving. So the share price has got nothing to do with it. Nothing. Focus on the business. It's just not knowing, isn't it? I think the difference is if you are putting 100 grand into your business or it's your house, you know what's going on there. I think people get worried because they don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And let's be honest, we've all been stung at one point of our life in stocks and shares where you think, oh, it's all going well, the story hasn't changed, whereas the story has changed behind the doors and then But I think, with these companies are slightly different.
Yeah, I've upped the quality threshold. That's what I'm saying. That's why I built these filters into my stock picking now, because, I mean, it's a high level of, it's very hard. The holy grail of investing, essentially, is, investing in a micro cap and becoming a mid cap. And I'm talking about going from, sub 50 million market cap pretty much, and then becoming, close to $500 million, and that kind of, and you can do that. But it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of research, and I genuinely believe of these 5 companies that go, a few of them will get there. And I don't need all of them to get there. I don't expect many. I mean, you may have a black swan event where one goes bust. Fair enough. I'm positioned for that. But I think what I'll do on the others, more than make up for it. So I'm going to sneeze, but I think like something like Polarian will be gangbusters. It'll be the kind of company you can invest in now and is still chucking off money and giving good returns in about 5, 6, 10 years time. It's almost a retirement fund. It's literally you'll be one of the early investors in that. It'll be a big company, and if you need to go on holidays, you sell a couple of shares because it doesn't matter. Because by then it'd be so much more valued, and so you only need 1 or 2 of those. In your life, if you hold on to them, you only need 1 or 2 of those. If you're playing as a 100 bagger, it has the potential to do that. You don't need. The rest of your companies can go bust as long as you're equally. It doesn't matter, but they won't go bust. But they'll probably do quite well. Some of them, but I mean,
And let's be honest, that's pretty much the strategy of Warren Buffett, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I said about diversification there. You shouldn't be over-diversified, because if you have one that does 100 bagger and it doesn't make you rich, you've messed up on your diversification, If you have one of 10 bags and it doesn't transform your portfolio properly, double, treble or quadruple your portfolio, you've messed up. You've got too many stocks. Now, if you've got one that goes bust and it ruins you nearly, then you've got too few stocks, So you have to have that fine balance. I say 5 stocks for me is about right, because I expect, one to majorly outperform. That's all I need. And then the others will outperform. But I think one of those companies there will majorly outperform. And that's all I need. And some will outperform, some may underperform, or 1 or 2 may underperform. But it doesn't matter, because, all you need is one good one. In fact, talking about that, I don't know if you saw Paul Hill was interviewed Ken Wotton, his name is. He's the managing director of Gresham House Investment Company. And they bought shares off Arrowgrass, which hold stock in Trufin. Trufin was spun out from Arrowgrass, which is a fund, and then Arrowgrass, basically the fund is closed. And so they did hold about 50% of the stock. They sold down, they still hold about 19% of the stock. And some people are worried about that overhang, because they know Arrowgrass is selling. They're going to be selling soon. Well, I don't know soon, if they held on longer than we thought they would. But they still hold 20%. And of course, there's a worry that they'll dump that stock. I don't believe they'll dump it. First of all, because the last time they sold 30% of the stock, it was placed with institutions like Gresham House. Gresham House will take more of this stock if they could. And he was interviewed by Paul Hill. And I said, I'm not worried about Arrowgrass dumping stock or selling their stock for 2 reasons. The shares, I believe, will eventually get placed with other institutions, so they won't be a wholesale just dumping on the market. And secondly, all 4 businesses of Trufin are improving. This means they're worth more money. Arrowgrass know this, and any bidders for that stock or buyers of that stock will have to pay more the longer they wait. And of course, they mentioned there, he reckons Satago will be bought out by Lloyds. And he said, hopefully, there'll be a bidding war between Lloyds and Barclays for Satago, which one of the companies Trufin own. And but he was saying it's unknown stock. And it is, Trufin is very unknown. Not many people know about it. There's 4 companies under the hood there, all fintech, 3 fintech, 1 gaming, all improving. And he said there's Satago could get bought out. There's I looked at the valuation of this. I mean, they did 12, close to 13 million in revenue last year, Trufin. They've got, last report is 17 million in cash. The valuation is about 62 million. So if you just take the cash away, because that's an asset, and just value the companies without the cash, they're basically, it's 47 million. Now, PlayStack, did 9 million production revenue. Times that by that's 45 million on its own. That's the valuation of PlayStack on its own, which is a gaming company that develops games. They have a host of games. They've got a massive hit on their hands called Mortal Shell. They also do gaming funding and finance for developers. So it's a developer and marketing agency. And they've got the ad tech that Bidstack has. That's just one company. That's the valuation of Trufin minus the cash. Then you've got three other companies in there. Oxygen, which is a market leader in invoice financing for local authorities. Satago, invoicing financing for private companies. A trial with Lloyds can be bought. And then you've got Virtus, which doubled their loan book, which is a funding and loans to independent financial advisors. This company is, again, all you need is PlayStack can be spun out on its own. A couple of these could. And that's undervalued. So that's another company I think is severely undervalued. So I'm happy with all the companies up. Gfinity, I did a video on those last week. People understand they're very impatient. These are startup companies. It takes a while to get going. Once they do, and we're talking 2-3 years from when they start where they are now, pretty much, they'll be valued a lot higher. They're just starting. You can't start a business and it go gangbusters. You need to be, and you don't want it to go gangbusters. You want the share price to go nuts, way above the valuations anyway, because people start selling.
Right. And that's what we used to do, though. And we used to make quick pop and drops, really, weren't they? And let's be honest, they didn't do any good for our portfolios unless you sold bang on the top. Or your mental health, really, as you watch them plummet after they've
exactly. That's it. Exactly. What do you want to do? If a company goes 50% in one day, then you not realise it's going to fall down, and it also crashes again. Oh no! And what normally happens is it goes up 50% in one day. People ramp it. You buy more of it until you bring the average up, and then all of a sudden it crashes. And I was up on that. You don't want that. You want steady gains over years. You don't want sort of pop and drop in a month. And if you're a trader, you don't want that. You don't want that. You want steady building of wealth. We've been chatting for a while, Steve. Right, listen, you've chatted more today than you've ever chatted in your life.
Kind of have to, really, fill the gaps with Paddy and Pete.
I've heard you like to fill the gaps. Right, one other thing. Any TV shows, anything you watched, Steve? I watched something last night. Really enjoyed it. I recommended my father, actually. But anything you like?
Well, I just started watching Vigil on BBC One, but obviously that's a new episode every week. So there's only 2 episodes on that. That's very good. So the writers or makers of Line of Duty, so very kind of similar. Yeah, that's worth a watch.
I know Paddy was a fan of Line of Duty. I just think it jumped the shark. Do you know what that means? Yeah.
Well, jump the shark.
Yeah. There was a saying in America. I don't know what it was. Was it Batman or something? Also, it was a very good drama. I think it was Batman or something stupid, but it was a very popular sort of kids show. There was watched by adults as well. They used to like sitting down when there's no internet, Saturday mornings watching Batman with the kids, and it really worked. Batman and Robin, and it got after a while. The writers just run out of ideas, don't they? They just keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until it gets really over. And this is Batman, And there's one point where I think there was a helicopter scene where Batman was hanging on a ladder below a helicopter and a shark jumped out of the water at about 50 feet and grabbed him on the leg, And people, what? Even the kids would say, sharks can't do that. And so there's a saying like it jumped the shark, which means it went beyond what was reasonably expected from a TV show. And I think that with Line of Duty, it got to the stage where it's too many flaws in it. And I watch things now. In fact, Megan's obsessed with Prison Break. Have you seen Prison Break?
I watched one of the seasons, and it is all right. But
what they realise is him. The key of this thing is him being in prison and breaking out. So when they break out, it loses way. So they put him back in prison, and all of a sudden he's dead. The guy's dead, right? Turns out he's not dead. He's in another prison somewhere. It's like he keeps breaking out. So you can't keep doing this. You can't keep. I mean, so it's almost like an investment. You got a good idea and a spin-off and a second film. You realise, the first one was a hit. Let's do a sequel, and you realise you're just diluting. As you go on. But but she's obsessed with it. And it's a bit over the top. There's so many flaws in it, You
can definitely see in this Vigil that there's a Line of Duty theme to it, but it's different because it's based on. Well, it's not based on. It's part based on a submarine where there's a murder on a submarine. So I'm only 2 episodes in, and apparently it is good so far. But the other thing, which just season 4 has come out on Netflix, which also. Is a program called Good Girls. I think it's number 2 in the Netflix charts at the moment. That's worth a watch. It's quite a bit of comedy and
I got one. As soon as Megan finishes, this Prison Break. I'm trying to get to watch that Cruel Summer. Is that any good? Did you finish?
Oh
that?
yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
Okay, that's
you've got to concentrate while you watch that though.
Yeah, I find that hard. I end up putting my laptop on my lap and start doing stock stuff.
Yeah.
Certainly
you need to watch the first episodes properly anyway.
Okay. Do you know I was driving back yesterday from... I talk about radio recommendations here, and I was driving back from South Wales, and I put Johnny Vaughan on at Radio X. He is excellent, actually. I work with Johnny. He's very talented.
So quick,
guy.
Isn't he?
Yeah, and I'm genuinely laughing. And 3 days spending doing humdrum stuff with my parents. Maybe I was lacking a bit of humour there, but I genuinely laughed on the M4 there all the way. Very good, and the guy's so sharp. And I've worked with him. I said one of the most talented guys I've ever worked with, and he was very good. If you're not listening to Johnny Vaughan on his 4 till 7 thang on Radio X, it's worth listening to if you're driving around. Because
do you know what? Even if you're not into the music, the indie music.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought, do you know what? This would be so much better if the music was better.
Yeah, but he does like a roundup podcast, which I've got subscribed to. It's quite, whenever I'm doing my podcast, it always pops up as like when my other podcasts run out, and it always surprises me how good it is. And it's just basically all their good content about the music, so it's worth just downloading that. But
my recommendation links in with that because Johnny was a huge fan of Elvis, and so I love Elvis. I think he's amazing. And in fact, we're going to, and this links to my father loves Elvis, and every year it's like a magnet for special needs. Porthcawl, they do the Elvis Festival is a special needs magnet. Unbelievable.
You know, I walked through Porthcawl the other day, actually. I'm doing a bit of a coastal walk across south of Wales, and we did pass Porthcawl, and all the signs are up there for the Elvis Festival.
We're going there. My parents go there. My kids love it because all people you see all the valleys come down dressed in they're almost amazing. There's some 1950s army style. The women, basically. It's an excuse for them to get absolutely rat-arsed on a Saturday morning dressed as Elvis and end up fighting on the beach. Is
that not going to confuse your mum, though?
No. She probably thinks she's back in time. It's fine. But no, so I watched last night, and in fact, the missus was knocking off, said, I'm going to bed, Prison Break. She said, you put your programmes on now. I said, I haven't got any programmes. You've been dominating the TV for weeks. And so hang on. I said, there's an Elvis documentary on there. There's the rise and fall of the king, right? And it's amazing. And it is so inspiring. There's something about him. One of the guys in there said, when Elvis walked in the room, the molecules changed. He said, you feel ecstatic almost. And I know it's fanciful, but if you look at the guy, the performance, he's got something. There's people to an aura, and his voice. I listened to Walk the Dog this morning. I listened to some music, but I realised that the rise and fall was amazing because they documented his life, and he was very cutting edge, late 50s. He came out rock and roll, shaking his hips. No one had done this before. It was very overtly sexual, and there's complaints about it, but of course teens loved it, and he was really cutting edge, and his voice was amazing. He was singing rocking songs, and before that the crooners, where you just stand there in a suit like Sinatra with good voice. Amazing Sinatra, but it wasn't Elvis. Elvis was on there shaking his guitar, shaking his hair, and then he went to the army because Vietnam, and America became very political. People complaining about to get involved in Vietnam. There's protests, there's people setting shops on fire, and so he went to the army, and Colonel Tom Parker was the manager of him, and he's very controlling. He took 50% apparently of everything Elvis earned, and Elvis was skint when he died, but which is nuts. He's earned more since he's been dead than he ever did in his lifetime because he earned money. But Colonel Tom Parker said, well, I'm going to play it safe now after the army, and started making them do these rubbish films, and he ended up releasing the soundtracks from the films. And so the Beatles were launched at the same time, and they showed how he'd lost his way because Colonel Tom Parker said when the Beatles released Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, really multicolour, sort of drug inspired, really a crazy sort of world of the Beatles, and cutting edge rock and roll as well, but also a bit trippy and very trendy. And Elvis got paranoid because they showed a clip and they said that, so when they were releasing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, a really cutting edge album, this is what Elvis was doing. And they showed him in a film on the back of a pickup truck with crates full of chickens, a farmer's truck, sitting next to this woman singing, "Oh, MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O." And they said that how much Colonel Tom Parker had lost weight for Elvis. And then you had Martin Luther King doing speeches about civil rights, and it was very political at the time, and Beatles were cutting edge like that, whereas Elvis wasn't. And then he said, sorry, I'm ignore Colonel Tom Parker, big arguments, and he started doing, I didn't realise this, but if I can dream of a better land. That was inspired by Martin Luther King's speech. I didn't realise that. It's quite obvious now. But then he started singing those songs in the Ghetto, American Trilogy and all that. I listened to those walking the dog this morning. They're so amazing. But Yeah, it's worth watching it because the guy's lifestyle, like you say, he lived, 100 lifetimes compared to most people, and it's just phenomenal. Something about these. I know people knock him, and there's a lot of parody about him these days, but there aren't many people around that inspire an event like Porth Call, 30 years after someone's death. It is phenomenal, the lasting legacy that he has. But it's worth a watch just because of how this Colonel Tom Parker could have messed him up, and you realise everything you did, you had an amazing talent there, and you couldn't even, if you tried to mess him up, you did a good job of always trying to mess him up, but you couldn't do it because his talent was too big. And it's really worth watching The Rise and Fall of the King on Channel 5. And in fact, walking the dog, I got a notification on my Ring app. My father was up in the conservatory. I called him, Dad, good documentary on Channel 5 last night, The Rise and Fall of the King. He said, yeah, I've taped it. We can watch it now. So, cool. So it's good. No, I'd watch that because it's just amazing how, seeing this guy there. And it is good. If you put him on your iPods and his voice, it is quite haunting. Do you like Elvis, Steve?
I don't dislike him.
I don't know why. I love him. I think he's excellent. That's my recommendation. And of course, the Jeremy Clarkson's Farm. Which,
yeah, of course.
So, thanks, Steve. So where are you going tonight? Where are you going?
So Peter... well, I arranged... It's funny when Pete was saying, am I going? I actually arranged this night out with our friend Nick, and Nick was, we should invite Pete down. And we were like, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's Peter. Hilarious. It's Peter sort of... Steve, will I come out? I arranged it. That's it. That reminds me of my mother. Last thing to say here, we went to West Wales a couple of weeks back. We stayed at the Cliff, which is a gorgeous hotel. And I said, you could some of the best views in the world. It would compete with anything. When the sun's out.
Was that the hotel they used in Estella?
I don't know, but it's phenomenal views.
I think it was.
And anyway, we went to a beach there, which is a gorgeous beach called Munt. Nice sound.
Good name.
Spelled MWNT. Only in Wales you get that. Munt Beach. But apparently it's listed on one of the best beaches in the world. Anyway, we went there and we were packing up and all the stuff to take. We all had chairs and towels and bags. My mother just walked off, nothing in her hands. My father's there, Kerry! She turned around about 50 yards. What? She said, pick something up. Why? She said, I said, Ma'am, we're all hands full, surfboards, things and everything. And she went, I'm not carrying anything. I said, why not? She said, I arranged the trip. I said, what are you talking about? I was like Pete with you, saying I arranged it, please don't come. But so Pete's in the delusional bracket of my mother at the moment, I think. Marvellous stuff, Stevie, and we'll speak to you next week.
Have a good weekend.
The Share Pickers Weekend Podcast with Justin, Paddy, Peter and Steve. The content of this podcast is not intended as investment advice. It is for information purposes only. People in this podcast may hold positions in the stocks they talk about. Do not buy anything based solely on a tip or recommendation. Please do your own research.